Hello everybody, it's Bets Golden here. Today I am working on some cute little stamped images that I'm going to put on some cards, and I thought it would be fun to have you guys join me as I colored this image in. I want to give her a darker skin tone with some beautiful black hair, which can be challenging to do, and I am a novice with Copic markers. However, there are a few tips and things that I've picked up over the last month or so, and I thought I would share it with you just to show you guys, even if you haven't taken any special classes or earned your degree in alcohol markers, you can do this too. It's not going to probably be as detailed and as beautiful as some of the things that you can catch on YouTube. I understand that, but this will at least give you the basics to give you a starting point, and you can go ahead and do some research, and I'm going to continue to do some research and learn too. So for this project, I am using the Rita Bearcat collection through Technique Junkies. Really, I love these stamped images. They are nicely engraved, so it gives a beautiful, crisp image. And it has a cling foam on the back, which is nice, so I don't have to have a foam pad underneath my paper that I'm stamping. So these are really fantastic. All of them are from Rita Bearcat over on the Technique Junkies website, and you can find them at www.techniquejunkies.com, and the prices on them are really reasonable. I mean, this one is $6.95. This one is $6.95, and this one is $6.95. So, and I think that they're super cute. All right, so I'm going to get started on this. Oh, this is what I'm using. I am using this mixed media paper. I love it. I absolutely love it. You guys, a little tip for you. When you go over to your paper crafting section, and often we get caught in that section of the craft shop, the craft stores, we get caught over there and we don't venture over into like the art section or the journaling section. But you can often find, this is 15 sheets, 6 by 8 inches, and I think I paid $4 for it, and then I used a coupon and got it like $2. This is basically the same paper, if not a better quality than what you find over in the craft section, so just keep that in mind. Tim Holtz has some beautiful mixed media paper, and this actually I like better because you can use a multitude of different inks on it, pens, whatever. So today I'm going to go ahead and color in this beautiful girl, and I'm going to start off by doing her skin, and I'm going to be using E11, E13, and E15 to color in her skin, and I'm going to show you some different tips on how you can do this. She is going to be a beautiful, darker skin tone than these two girls. I think she's gorgeous. She looks kind of exotic, and so I want to play that up a little bit. Something that I want you to keep in mind that confuses a lot of people, and darn near got me to walk away from Copic markers and thinking I was a horrible colorist. This is the colorless blender. The mistake that people make is they think that this is actually a blender. It is not. It is a color eraser or a color highlighter. It will take color off, but it doesn't necessarily blend. You will be blending with all of these colors, and at the end of the game, your color blender is going to be your lightest shade that you started with, and that's why I always use 2 to 3 shades when I'm working with Copic markers. So the first thing I need to do is I need to give a nice coverage to this image, and we're going to do her skin first, and I'm going to start off with E11. I'm taking off both pins because this stabilizes it and lets the pressure get equal. That way it will not give you a big glop of ink on your project, which I had happen one time. I was coloring in the lips, and I was using the strong red, and all of a sudden, and I did that last, all of a sudden I got a big blob on my lips, and it totally ruined the project. So we are going to always keep the cap off of both ends of our markers, and that will equalize the pressure in it. If you also notice, I am coloring on a piece of copy paper, just a cheap piece of copy paper. You can use a scratch paper, you can use, something. That is because I do not want my ink to absorb back into my image. I want it to transfer potentially to something else. I am going to do 2 layers at first of this color. So this is going to get a little bit wet. And if I do not have something under it, then it will absorb back into my original picture, and I'll end up with that bleed through. And that's what causes the bleed through. So always work with a piece of paper underneath of it. And as you can tell, she's streaky right now. So I'm just going to go back over her, and this is just, again, my first color through of her. And I am just going to color her in again, and that'll eventually let the streakies go. And as I get further into this process, the streaks won't be even noticeable because I am going to lay down quite a bit of color on her and do some shading. I am not an expert on shading. I tend to just go along with where the artist has already given me those lines, and I just shade along those lines. And with each color change, I do less and less color on the paper. So the darker it gets, the less you're going to see that color. Okay, so I'm almost done with this, and as you can tell, she's not streaky anymore. So this color I'm going to be using again, so we're going to set this aside for now. And then I'm going to go through with my E13, making sure I take off both ends. And I'm just going to do kind of a it's not real neat. I'm just trying to give her some color around where the illustrator has already given me some lines to work with. And it's going to look kind of funny at first, and then towards the end it'll all make sense. Because remember, I'm not blending yet. I'm just shading and getting this all in the right spot. And up by her hairline, of course, there's always more color up there because, the shadows of her hairline and whatnot. It's kind of normal. And then her little nose. Okay, so now I'm going to go on to E15, which is the darkest of what I'm going to be using. And again, we're going to color up into her hair. And this, I'm just kind of really following the lines that the illustrator has given me. I'm not very good with predicting where the sun would hit and where it would not. It's not my forte. I didn't even realize that I enjoyed coloring until this month when I started to really get into this, and it's like, oh, this is kind of fun. Okay, so she's not looking so good right now, right? So we need to go ahead and blend her out. And how we're going to do that is we're going to take back our E11. And I'm just going to go over it, all over her once again. Oop, I forgot to take off that lid. Sometimes I forget. I'm still having to learn that little trick. Gotta remove the lids. Okay, so I am just blending these colors all out, giving her some nice shading, bringing her to life. I don't really care if I get it up into her hair because I'm going to be doing her hair next. And I'm going to show you how to do black hair, which is really quite interesting. You don't actually use much black when you do black hair. And I have an opportunity to show you just what that colorless blender can be used for, because I have gone outside of the lines. So I'll show you what you can do, what the purpose of that is. I'm also going to use the colorless blender throughout her hair at the very end, because I do want to add highlights, and that can be done with the colorless blender. But it's definitely not a blendable pen. Okay, so there she is. Take my colorless blender, and I'm going to use this side of it, and I'm just going to push that color that got outside of the lines back up into her. And as you can see, it actually does remove color. And I have right here too. I'm just going to push it back into her hair. And this just moves the color back. And you just push it into the image. You don't want to do a circular motion or anything like that, because that'll just end up taking the color and lightening it all around. You want to just push it. You are literally moving it back into the image. Okay, so from here I'm going to do her hair. And like I said, I want to, and I color this way, you guys. I'm really sorry, I'm left-handed, so it has to be kind of like this. So for black hair, you actually want to start off with a light base of blue. And I'm going to start off with B00, which is frost blue. And I'm just going to give this a covering over all of it. And this blue, since her base of her hair is blue, I want to make sure that her clothes kind of match the cool undertone of this. So I'm going to have her in a blue, it's called a duck blue shirt, just to make sure that she doesn't, you know, clash. So I'm going to cover this twice, just like I did with the skin. I really have fun doing hair. I think it's a lot of fun. I don't know why, but I do. I think it's a lot of fun. And see where I messed up? It's not even there anymore. So this is definitely an eraser. It is an eraser, which is beneficial. Like, you need it. I think that everybody needs an eraser when they get their Copics. I think that needs to be like one of the first things that people purchase with their Copics is an eraser, because they definitely, you will need it, you know, at one point or another. And it does have some cool effects, but you just have to understand that it's not a true blender. Once you get that out of your head, that it's not there for blending, Copic markers start to make a whole lot more sense. These are blendable alcohol markers, as I had mentioned, but the way that they blend is not with that blender. So I wish that Copic would rename it to something that is accurate to what it really does. Okay, so there, her blue base is down. So from here, I'm going to use the BV29 slate. And for the slate, I'm just going to go I'm going to start. I always like to start in the center of her part line because you know that there's going to be, that's where it always is darkest. So I like to make sure I get a good covering. And I'm pretty much going to cover up most of this blue with this slate at this point. Right. And now I'm going to use my black. This is 100, black 100. Okay, so from here I'm going to go back over it with my BOOO, that sounded bad, like body odor, huh? Which is the Frost Blue, to kind of blend it all through. And then I am going to take my colorless blender and highlight a couple spots on her. When you're dealing with such dark colors, you want to use the blender to definitely bring out some of the spots and give her some highlights. As you can tell, I mean, even this colorless blender, as it dries, it's lightening up some of those spots as it is. Okay, so from here, I do want to go ahead and push some of this color out of my little flower. I'm going to color the flower in, but I just want to make sure I see where I need to. Perfect. Okay, that's looking good. All right, so now I'm going to go on through and just remove some of this. All right, so her hair I think is pretty much done, and it's going to continue to lighten up as it gets darker, and see on the back of the page, had I not had this down, that would have all seeped back into her. So from here, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and color in her eyes. I'm going to make her eyes green. I wanted to do something just a little bit different. Her lips, this dark red in R89. And then we'll move on to her flower in her hair and her shirt. And then as you can tell, that went really dark over that line, and so I'm going to take my colorless blender because it will remove color, and I'm just going to remove a little bit right there. Just going to kind of dot it on here. There we go. I like that better. All right, and for the color in her, for her flower and her shirt, I'm just going to use BG49. And I might go ahead and just pop on a little Prima that I have in my stash for this, for her hair, for that little flower, because it is blending in fairly well with her hair. Then I also think I'm just going to go back in with BG72, which is Ocean, Ice Ocean, and just do a little bit of shading. All right, now sometimes it might be easier to take a white pen and go around where you accidentally got the Copic marker outside of the line and just draw over it. and use that as an eraser. That works when you're working on white paper. Pen with black can be a little bit harder to erase, but really it doesn't matter in my situation because I'm going to cut these images out. So it's not that big of a deal. All right, so that's just some little tips on how to do shading with Copic markers. If you want to see more, please head on over to my blog. We are doing a blog hop this week, and I would love for you to participate. It's Rita Bearcat is doing a blog hop, and her blog hops are always so much fun, you guys. She's just wonderful, and she's super nice, and she's so creative. Like, I love her girls. And so head on over. I'm participating in it, and there are some other people as well. So you can hop from my blog, which is www.scrappycafe.blogspot.com. Head on over and just hop through and just see some wonderful inspiration and maybe find some new artists to inspire you. Okay, until next time, happy crafting!